welcome back everyone. This is going to be a very controversial topic, but I'm going to say it anyway because I feel like as a moral electrician, it's my duty to inform customers of rules, changes, consequences, all stuff like that. And I'm firstly not saying consequences as any sort of threatening or sales method at all. I'm just trying to make people aware. But what happens if you don't upkeep and maintain the electrical system in your property? Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about, right? So, firstly, the number one problem that will occur if you do not upkeep, or could occur if you don't upkeep your property's electrical system, shall be potential fire, damage, death, electrocution. Probably should have swapped them two around actually. Electrocution or death, okay? Because death's the big scary one. It's terrifying. So yeah, that's what could happen if your electrical system isn't maintained. And the reason that happens is parts break down, parts fail, parts can be installed incorrectly. You can have failure of manufacturing materials and mechanisms, and parts just fail in general. Let's face it, nothing lasts forever. Boilers break down, radiator seize up, brickwork crumbles, plaster falls off, paint starts peeling. Okay, it's no different to any trade, any profession. Things break. So that's what could happen. Now, I'm trying to word this in such a way that it doesn't come across as, I'm going to be blunt, it doesn't come across as me being an arsehole, right? Because sometimes I feel like this, and I think some people think we're just trying to sell people. I'm not. I'll just spend all day explaining to people why things should happen. In fact, that's kind of how we built up our company brand, was just being truthful. So you've got them. It happens. That's what could happen if you don't maintain your electrical system. Now, normally, that's enough motivation for people to get these systems looked at, okay, or at least get them tested, so you know where you stand with your property. Some people are very ignorant to that fact, or they just don't want to pay out, or they don't see what the problem is. So let's take the scenario of a fire's occurred. Now, if there's a fire, electrical fire, normally it's actually spread. That's normally because the existing system, so the existing wires or accessories or sockets or whatever it is, were not installed correctly or were maintained, or they were damaged in some way and it's caused a fault. Or you've got the issue of your fuse board did not operate the way it's meant to. So your fuse board is what turns off everything, okay? Known as a consumer unit, known as a distribution board, known as we've heard people call them trip switches, knowing all these different things, that's what they're called. They turn off in the event of a problem, and they turn off very rapidly. That's the point of them. If it detects a break, normally the easiest way is basically electricity flows like that, okay, like in a sine wave, and electricity constantly flows. Now, if the fuse board detects a break in that regular flow, it will turn off the power. It will assume you are holding onto a live cable and you get an electric shock, or a fire's occurred or something like that, it's caused a break. It will turn off. Now, if they haven't been tested regularly, they won't operate, okay? Even the newest parts will not trip out if they've not been regularly tested. I'm not just talking about the test berm, I'm about an actual electrician has come out and tested the property. So that's what could happen. Now, firstly, let's just put all your safety concerns. We hope none of you come under health risks from electrical issues, okay? That's the number one concern. But let's just say you've had a fire in your property. You've all of your family and friends and loved ones and animals and everyone got out of the property, everyone's fine. But there's fire damage in your property. So right, we've got building insurance. That's the point of housing. Building insurance and house insurance and contents insurance. Great. Let's go. That's fine. It's a hassle. It's a giant pain in the backside. We'll ring them up. We'll get it sorted. We have spoken to a few people recently. Not recently. Over the years, we've spoken to a few people. And there's a lot. We all know the age-old thing. Insurance companies are probably going to try and get out of paying where they can. Okay? It's not me being stereotypical or not. There's a lot of them out there who will try and avoid paying. Or they'll try and see where the blame falls first of all. That's the point of it. There will normally be a clause in your insurance documents that says that it's your duty as the policyholder, the property owner, whatever it is, to upkeep the system to a certain degree. If they find you haven't done that, there's a good chance they will try and avoid or fully void paying out and reimbursing you. Okay, I've heard of it one time actually happening, but there's nothing to say it can happen every time, particularly now as we've moved towards a better push on electrical and fire safety, which, don't get me wrong, we're becoming more and more dependent on electricity, electric vehicle chargers, solar, alternators from DC to AC current. That can be dangerous stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to allude to, which is the fact that there will normally be a clause in your insurance document that will say it's void. Because if you've got an old fuse board from the 1970s and they recommend a fuse board is upgraded every 10 to 15 years, and a property test is done every 5 years, they'll just turn around and be like, okay, well, you haven't done your part. You haven't upgraded or checked in or maintained the electrical system in your property, which is your responsibility. We're going to void it. And that's normally what they'll do. It's kind of no different to having a vehicle. If you've got a new car with all the newest safety features, with all the newest technology, with all the newest driver assist, and these things to really help, your insurance policy will normally be cheaper than if you had a car from the 70s, which probably doesn't even have airbags, probably doesn't have seatbelts, got no safety cutouts, which means it's nothing's going to tell you if the engine's overheating or going wrong. Then your policy is going to be a lot higher. And that's how they weigh these things up. So yeah, that was just me alluding to the fact that you've got to keep on top of your electrical system. You've got to make sure it's looked after. You've got to make sure it's done to the best standards. If not for your own safety, then for the fact that your building or property is covered in the event of an issue. Yeah, it's just good to stay on top of it. The best thing to do, speak to an electrician, get them out there, book them in for a thing called an EICR, which is an electrical installation condition report, sometimes known as a periodic report. What they'll do, they will test the entire property. They will assess a number of factors. They will refer to a lot of the regulations and guidebooks, and they will basically give you a certificate at the end with their recommendations, with their findings, with their assessment of the property, and then you can go from there. So normally the report will come back as satisfactory or as unsatisfactory. So it's either passed or it's failed. But it'll have a list on it. It'll tell you the reasons why it's failed. It might not need as much work as that, but if the property's not been touched since like the 70s, you're going to need some work doing on it. And you've got to stay on top of regulations, basically. Okay. So yeah, this is just a little bit of a moan. It's a little bit of an awareness video. Stay on top of the regulations. They are there for a reason, and if they're not followed, regardless of your safety, there's a lot of chance that the insurance company will also turn around and be like, okay, you didn't stick to your part of the deal that you agreed to when you signed the documentation. We're voiding it. So yeah, hope it's been helpful. Drop us a comment below, or like, or share, or whatever it is. If you've got any questions about this, drop it below. It's a difficult subject. I know not all insurance companies are like it. I know if it's not broken, why fix it? I know all these factors, but just drop them below and we'll get a little bit of debate going. And if you're unsure, click on the other videos. So yeah, all the best. Catch you later.